And we're back.
And we're still black?
You are. I never was.
It don't wash off. I almost got it off.
Oh my God, what were we watching?
Omar is in the house.
Oh, I was watching this.
I'm about to eat the last of them cookies, Omar.
This comedian
Consider them waxed.
do he does shorts of his comedy shows, and he engages with the audience a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I've shown you some of his videos before. He's hilarious. He sometimes comes here to Indiana, and somebody said something, and he looked at them and started engaging with them, and then she's like, "Oh, this is my daughter," and he was like, "What?" Because she was like just white, and the daughter was black, and then he's like, "Huh?" And then she mentioned that he saw her son at the airport, some black dude, and he was like, "What?" Like trying to look at her in the audience, like, and people were like laughing. He's like, "No. If you see what I'm seeing, this isn't right." And then he's like, "Wait, are they adopted?" And she's like, "No, these are my kids. Like I gave birth to them." And oh, the dad must be black. And she goes, "Well, was." And he goes, "What? It washes off?" So that reminded me of that skit. And she meant was because he had passed away.
Oh. I thought he pulled the Michael Jackson.
Right?
Started messing with that Pepsi.
Oh,
Boy,
my God.
That Pepsi turned a brother into albino alpaca.
Real quick.
Hair and all. Black people shouldn't mess with Pepsi because Pepsi is mixed with the vitiligo juice. Take the color right off a brother.
Oh, shoot. I forgot to post the link. Let me post the link in the chat. Yeah, that was pretty hilarious.
So, I'm guessing Roy Droy Voy is going to join us. Inhibit is going to join us. I just seen Mr.
Kent
Kong. I don't know if he's going to join us or not. He's a random spong.
I saw him in the pub the other day, and he was in his kitchen.
Yeah. Apollo Hanzo.
What up, Apollo? Casio head. Is it Satan? Recon?
You know, I really didn't expect a lot of our viewers to stick around because we're changing our format. But I guess it tells you how many people are here for us and not just music. And,
well,
you know, they're here for the fucking ride.
Because I think at the end of the day...
we did lose a lot of viewership. Don't get me wrong. A lot of people stopped coming and checking it out because, you know, we trying to go back to our roots, but I am really surprised as to how many people stuck around.
Apollo said, "We like you."
No doubt.
And I was going to say, I think a lot of people stick around because they want to see the craziness that could and very, very likely will occur.
Right. Shit. I want to see what happens too. Uncle Chrome's Bleep Boop start in an hour or so.
An hour, yeah. What up, Doom?
Doom Manga.
Apologies if I'm chewing in your face. I'm trying not to, or in your ear.
Oh, I don't hear it.
These cashews are very satiating. That's my new favorite word.
Satiating. Okay, I like that.
Doom said, it's doom, doom, doom.
Doom, doom, doom. Rupert Sheldrick.
I really enjoyed Doom's tracks yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the second one. Was my favorite. You like that first one. It reminded me of you for some reason.
The first one. What was the first one? It wasn't She's My...
I think that's the one, the second one.
That's the second one, right? That one? That first one, right?
Mm-hmm. That's the one that kind of reminded me of you.
I like it. I like it. Hibs nibs.
Hibs nibs.
Hibs nibs.
Hibs nibs. We can't hear him. Why can't we hear him?
Maybe he has to speak.
Is your mic hooked up? Hibs nibs.
We should be able to hear you. At least as far as my end is concerned. I cannot hear you.
We got inhibited in.
His voice is inhibited.
All right. I can't wait to talk to this fucking man because he's on the same page as my brother and I and a lot of you Saurians. And I want to hear his layman, complex, scientific mind.
I heard something.
Did you hear that?
Oh, yes. Shit, yeah. He's alive.
He's alive. Master.
No.
You're getting a huge delay. Hang on a sec.
Okay.
Yep. Check his echo cancellation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. I think that should be good.
Apollo, are you going to air that redo of the studio?
Oh, he's redoing his studio
This
too.
is why I needed to come in earlier.
Shit, we got the droid
You're
void.
good, Hips. Now I can hear you.
Bruh.
RDB, I can't hear. Oh, yeah. I can.
Oh, it
hear me?
moves.
Yeah.
Yeah, we hear you pretty good. What about you, Inhibit? Let's get you a test again.
He's thinking.
And I'm thinking.
And thinking.
I'm thinking.
All right.
How are you viewing? Is everybody on StreamYard? No one has YouTube up, correct? Other than the chat.
It's
I would
here,
imagine.
the Streamyard, isn't it?
How do I get the chat up without having YouTube? I got it.
You got it?
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to visualize it so I can explain it.
Yeah, thank you, though.
Chris B said, "How y'all coming up with y'all names?" Wait till you see mine.
Chris is like, I'm just Chris B.
There we go. Legless.
Ah, good.
Audio.
Lamar
Okay, that's
says,
just because I don't know StreamYard at all, and I've just kicked my coffee.
Okay.
Oh, don't do that. That's sacrilegious.
Yeah, that is sacrilegious. Is Kent Spawn coming in?
You need to start saying just Kent.
I want to know. I just like his last
But-
name.
I know, but he doesn't.
I'm the same though. It's like spam or
Spam.
it just trips off the tongue.
Kent
literally
Spam. It does.
Trips
Kent
off the tongue.
Spong.
We'll wait.
It makes it sound important, right?
Right?
Like he's. If you just say Kent,
Yeah.
all right, yeah. But if you say Kent Spong,
I really want Kent in on this discussion, so can you message
Yoy,
him?
Kent, get your
Oi.
hairy ass in here.
That was pretty good.
Thank you.
Oi, tot. Let's give it a minute and see if he comes in. Can you get him a private? Spongus.
He has a
I
link.
just
It's
want to
pinned in the
show
chat.
you what's behind my head.
Oh, okay. What's going on here?
Banana taped to the wall. Interesting.
What the hell is that all about? See,
That's
I knew
called-
you were going to be an interesting guy.
That's called art.
Yeah, you really ought to read your own Discord.
It's so he knows where to put his head.
Yeah, I believe me. We try. You're talking to a guy who really didn't fall asleep yesterday until 5 o'clock in the morning.
There are certain people who'd understand the reference right now.
Banana taped to a wall. Yeah, it's over my head, and I really wish I followed that thread, wherever that thread is.
Yeah, I
Can't
gotta
figure it out either.
I gotta go find it.
Because I can't seem to get Royd out of the fucking
What?
field of consciousness thread right now.
Look at him! Look at him! Look at him! Look at him! Look!
Oh,
Look!
there
look,
he
look.
is.
Can Spong has arrived.
What I do now is what he normally was.
What up, my bitches?
That's right, homie. What up?
Yeah, what up?
Ah,
Give
now
it
you
up, bitch. Give it up. How are you doing, darlings?
Doing good.
All good?
Doing good. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
It's the Kent.
Shit, you're coming in loud and
I
clear.
brought him down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. God, Kent, you sound like King.
Ken is always at max.
Right. Yeah.
That's okay. I fixed him. I fixed you, Kent.
Oh, okay.
Welcome in. No
I
Lake.
enjoyed our last time together.
I know.
Welcome in, Rachel B.
I'm now fixed.
Welcome in, Chris B.
Barely fixed.
Azio Head. Anybody else I missed?
No Lake.
I said No Lake.
Oh.
Okay. Let's get this started. I invited.
Is Chris B related to Rachel B?
Could be.
No,
No.
No.
no,
Oh.
I know them both.
Oh, it's
Oh,
a
okay.
coincidence.
No, he knows them both.
I know them both.
No, but I'm saying like the B
Oh
at the
yeah,
end is a
yeah. It's
coincidence.
Yeah,
got
it's a
you.
total
It's got you.
coincidence. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I invited. Well, Spong's always here. But I invited particular because of their comments and their threads in the community. They are a wondrous mind, like my brother and I, Kent, Scotty, and the rest of the gang that come in here. And for those of you who follow, we've been on the subject of field of consciousness as of late. The one thing that interests me the most is that we don't have a scientific background. We are all laymen's into this, but that being said, I'm sure we've all had deep thoughts about consciousness, connectivity, which it's not illegal for us to have our own minds and our own models as to
Yet.
what that looks like.
Yet.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated on how Kent thinks about the whole thing. I think he's spot on for a lot of things with my brother and I and Marilyn. And just by watching Roy Joy Void in the comments and Inhibit, just the picture Inhibit has on his moniker tells me everything I need to know, which is why I have my laughing Buddha right here.
A Cornish quoit.
Oh,
Cornish. Wait.
A Cornish quoit. And they were supposed to be buried, but I don't think they were. This particular one has a field of quartz just by it, and nobody really knows why.
damn. Okay.
But it's about 6,000 years old.
Really?
Jeez.
Yeah, it's very old.
Shows you how much time people had on their hands before the internet.
Right?
A whole
Well,
lot.
yeah, I mean, I think it's all related to the conversation we're having, to be honest
Yeah.
with you.
They still might have used YouTube to find out how to build one. An instructional video. Somewhere.
It
Or
probably
the
has a more
equivalent.
practical use though than people want to imagine.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I've done some acoustic work inside that quoit, and just by finding frequencies, because I'm into like microtones and stuff like that, and it's part of the reason I'm into microtones is the archaeoacoustics.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there are some interesting phenomena you can experience from messing around with sound in these things.
I bet.
Changes in consciousness, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
there are various theories about it, but I'm kind of leaning towards it being an ultrasonic amplifier for fermenting urea into ammonia. It creates crystallization, but I mean, we don't know about these things, and part of the mystery and part of the fun of these things is not knowing. It's not, you can't look it up on the Google, and
It's quartz.
you know,
The whole thing is made of quartz.
well, it's granite, so it's very rich in quartz. But there's
Do you
actually
have a picture
field
of it?
green quartz. I do have a picture of it, but please don't make me show it because I'm too new to this stuff. It might go all horribly wrong.
He's got no
He's
pants
like,
on.
you're lucky I got on.
It's called Trethevi Quoit, but Cornwall's full of them, going all the way up to Wales, and yeah, they kind of stop in Wales. They don't really go up to.
Okay, let
to
me stop you
Scotland,
right
right?
there. Let me stop you right there. For the people who are watching this after the live who don't know what you're talking about, can you please explain to the people exactly what you're talking about?
Okay, so this is a Bronze Age monument, early Bronze Age monument, late Mesolithic, built in Cornwall on Bodmin Moor. And yeah, it's huge. I mean, that capstone is 4 or 5 meters. So for it to have a ritual purpose, it's a little hard to believe, because why would a community go to that sort of effort? It's the same with all these ancient monuments.
If it doesn't make
But as a musician and as a microtonal musician, I find these kind of archaeacoustic stuff really, really fascinating, that there might be some lost musical technology that we could possibly revive by reverse engineering.
looks like durable shelter.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's actually one stone's actually fallen in.
Yeah.
The stone on the upper half has actually fallen in, so it would have actually been a fully complete quoit. But
And what is that one called exactly?
Trethevi Quoit. Trethevi, as they say in Cornwall.
How do you spell that? Just going to try to find a picture.
Trevey.
I'm just wondering about the logistics. How heavy is that top granite?
Probably a couple thousand pounds.
So that sounds like that would have to be quarried on site. No, you're just
Yeah.
not
It'd
gonna...
have to be at least a ton. Yeah.
I mean, it's local stone, and the same thing with green quartz, which is laid out next to it. Now, the unusual thing about green quartz is when you smack it together percussively, which I think is a big hint, it generates light.
Right.
And there's a similar quoit to this that has these green quartz pieces near it, and it's got carvings on the side which you can only see under low light. So they would have gone out at night, smacked these green quartz together percussively, and then be carving into the other quoit. And if you can see from that picture, you can see there are holes in the stone, like indentations in the stone.
Mm-hmm.
These are commonly found at places where people sing, at rocks, right the way back to the Paleolithic eras. And yeah, it's pretty interesting. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting stuff.
Why? Okay. And I know this is going to fall into consciousness, but why, as you said, why go through the trouble if this thing didn't do anything, for a lack of better words?
Look at how big it is.
It's huge.
But as far
And
as we
the
know,
hole in
it
the
doesn't
top.
do anything.
But I think it does, because I started working on some pieces of music and hanging out these places. This is my local area. And I started hanging around the stone circles and doing music activity, taking a modular VCV rack setup on a laptop and sitting inside these places and trying to create music, taking frequency responses. And
Look at how huge that is.
I found that certain weird things start happening, and I think this will roll quite nicely into what we're talking about.
Mm,
I'll give you an example. The length of a megalithic yard in a pendulum
mhm,
equates to 113 BPM. Now, when I made this song for the first song that I did for this, I had already in my mind 113 BPM. Okay.
wow.
So after I came back from the megalith, I already had that BPM, and I'd already come up with some of the frequencies that I picked up as resonant frequencies in the stone.
Mm.
And then the same thing happened to me recently. There's a recent stone circle that has just been restored, called Goodhaver Stone Circle. Well, it's not been restored, but the landowner has built a path up to it, so it's actually a very beautiful walk. And I was trying to calculate the length of a pendulum between the stones, and it came up as 168 BPM. Again, I already had that in my mind before I
Okay.
went up.
So now
And
we're
I
talking
found that
morphic resonance here.
yeah, so I've found that actually since I've been doing these pieces of work,
Hmm.
that the levels of synchronicity that have kind of happened in my music and to me in everyday life have increased dramatically. Last couple of days have been really strange after going to Goodhaver Circle. I was listening to a piece of music by Vangelis, S.O.R Festivities. And then I went on to James Dyson's site to watch him play with a synth that I really wanted. I thought that's amazing. Went and checked it on the website, and they had a cover of Vangelis S.O.R Festivities on it. And then when I was talking today about this experience, my wife turns around to her best friend who's sitting there at the time laughing at me, and says, "Oh, when are we going to fix our Dyson Hoover?"
Yes, I get days like that as well.
And I can't work out if it's one of the reasons I'd like to hear your point of view on this thing is I can't work out if this kind of occurrence happens when you reach a flow state in the artwork that you're composing in or composing or creating, or whether it's a symptom of hanging out in these kind of places, or a combination of the two. So I'm interested in you guys' point of view on this and whether there's a way we can make our lives better by making our art better.
Who wants to go next? Who wants to answer the question? I mean, I can answer it if no one's ready.
Go for it.
So when I come into the studio, my wife is always marveled, even my brother at times, where I won't come into the studio if I don't feel like I'm in, for a lack of better words, the right frequency in the state of mind. I mean, you could call it the flow state, but it's almost like something pulls me into the studio and I can instantaneously hear the exact thing I want to do. Now, take in mind, I can't get there immediate. It takes me about an hour, but I can hear the exact layout, the exact setup, as if I've done it before, and come in here, and then all time just stops. It ceases. She'll literally tell me that I forgot to eat, I forgot to drink, and those things, like I don't even get sensations. It's almost like I'm Novocained throughout the entire process. And I don't stop until I hear it exactly how I heard it in my head. And every time I tell her, this is exactly how I heard it in my head, we both just kind of, we trip out. Because I know people who they say, oh, I hear what I want to do, and they get close to it, right? They get in the field of it and go, yeah, this is about what I want it to do. But when I come in here, Like I don't know how these schematics are laid out in my mind, and I don't know where I'm pulling this stuff from. But it almost seems like I'm pulling it from a source, like a source code is being downloaded, and it's going, right, you have this machine, this is where you're going to find it. Don't stop until you get there. Now, I don't know if it's because I surfed through these machines so many times, I've heard so many sounds, and in my mind, I can revert back. My mind just stored these things and filed it away, but every now and then it'll bring one of those files up and go, you remember that sound? Let's use that one. You know, it's hard for me to equate what's going on when I'm in the flow state. But I do know this. I don't believe in coincidences. And if you are quiet long enough, and I'm not talking like using mushrooms, marijuana, alcohol, no substance involved. But if you're quiet long enough and you're just listening and it's almost like I go into this meditative state. And when it's all said and done, it's a blur. I literally don't even know. I say this every time. I don't even know how I created it. It was almost as if like something takes over you. You know, like there's a higher self of you that's aware that you're not aware of it. Like the observer
Yeah, that's why I stopped playing live.
is not aware of the observer.
When I was a teenager, I played out live a couple of times, and I mean, it was kind of neat, I guess, but at the same time, I wasn't really there. Like, I just wasn't even there. Like,
Right.
So it felt uncomfortable because I was not really aware of what was going on.
Right. It's almost like
I just didn't
you're a
like doing it.
slave or a puppet to a higher self that just takes over the complete
Yep.
third dimensional thinking. Like I have no forward thinking, no backward thinking. I'm just like in that moment. I'm not thinking how it's going to end, where I was before that moment. It's just that moment that I can recall. And I go, man, I didn't have any precognitions, no withal. I wasn't even thinking about things in the past. Most people spend their whole life trying to achieve just to be in the moment without having random thoughts pop up in their head. And, you know, and I only get that when I'm working on music.
What do you think, Ken? Because I guess you've spent quite a lot of time on stage.
All I
and
can say,
doing
all I
stuff.
can say is, you lucky people, because when I come in here, I turn on the gear, I haven't got anything in my head at all. It's completely empty. This lot tells me what I'm going to do.
Right.
Literally, I play. I play and go, oh, okay, and we'll try that sound, and oh, okay, and then put something to it and something to it, and I'm just, I'm going through the libraries, but I'm kind of helping them along, going, yeah, that's a nice sound, but completely empty mind when I come in. It's weird.
But you have to wonder, is that actually any different? Because in a way, it's still a retrocausal act.
When I have come in here with a track in my head, and I know what it sounds like, I know what its speed is going to be, and everything about it, and I start to put it together, it never, ever works out. Ever. It's never quite, well, not even quite, it's never anywhere near what I've got going in my head. And I tend to go, oh, delete. But if I come in here completely musically brain dead and sit down, a track will happen.
It can go either way for me.
Yeah.
Like, I can have like a premeditation where I've been sitting around thinking and come up with something that I think is cool and I want to give it a try. But other times I just come in and I don't know what I'm going to do at all, and I just start messing around. Usually, actually, that's when you get something better. Yeah. That's why I like improv. I mean, in general, but my biggest issue is I'm not usually ready to hit record when I start doing it, so it ends up a phone recording or something weird like that, you know. So I have to be a little bit more disciplined about where I do it.
Yeah.
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 Well,
Yeah.
Nolik had a great comment. He said, it's kind of satisfying though when you listen to one of your older tracks and think, "Geez, how have I done this?"
Right. And
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
and yeah,
You've done that many of times.
many a
You're like, "Well, how
times,
did I do that?"
many a
Yeah.
times. And I mean, I really feel like there's something more at play here.
Well, you call it you
Yeah.
you usually call it a download from higher source because I know for me personally, it's not music, but it's like art, and I've never been an artsy person ever.
Ever.
Like I failed art in school. Like I was not good at art. Math stuff, yeah, amazing. That was like my my thing. And then just recently, since like 6 years now, all of a sudden I'll be like, I can do this, or I need to do this, or I have an idea, and then it's artistic, and I put it together, and it comes out on my. And then you're like, well, how did you learn how to do that? I go, I have no idea,
No, she never picked up.
no clue.
Bring up some pictures of the nail art you done with like Picasso. So she got into doing nail art for people. And I've known this woman for 10 years. She's never once thought
Never.
about nail art.
Never thought about art. Period.
And one day, I shit you not, it still gives me chills.
Yeah.
She goes, "Oh, I have to do this," as if someone filled her in on the memo that she could do this. Like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, you forgot you could do this, or you have done this in the past, or it's easy to go into this, what I call this golden veil spider web resident state we can't see, but it sits on us all the time, wherever we go. We even walk through this, almost like a cosmic web of radio transmissions and frequencies constantly around us. And she just happened subconsciously to tune in to something to give her the schematics on how to do this. And when she showed me for the first time, and I'm talking spot on art, like
Yeah.
I have no idea how she could have done this. And we still don't have an answer.
No clue. No
And
idea.
she's mimicking things she sees on TV.
Yeah.
She mimicked a Picasso portrait. She mimicked some, I think it was like a little farmhouse or something.
Yeah.
And did like this miniature, tiny little
on a nail.
structure on a nail.
On
and
a
I'm
nail
like,
of all things.
and people are blown away. People that have been doing it for years
Yeah.
cannot do what she's doing. And she's like, and they're telling her, "How long have you been doing this?" And at the time she would say, "Oh, I just started like literally a couple of days ago."
We all
great.
have different ways of getting there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the one thing we have in common is that we all reach this outsider state, and Colin Wilson talks a lot about this. And Colin Wilson actually is a very interesting author. He wrote over 250 books in his lifetime, lived up until I think he died fairly recently in the 2000s. Lived in Cornwall, in fact, and he was very interested in looking at the positive flow states in people, and he found that in a lot of cases that artists, when they felt like they were achieving something successful, felt that it wasn't them doing the artwork, felt that it was something else moving through them. And I think in this sort of, I put some videos up on the Discord today, which was trying to explain what we're talking about here. What I'm talking about is that I think there's a tendency in modern music to reflect what the culture is saying. In particular, I think some of the more pop music style genres do that. So we're talking about hip hop, techno, drum and bass, pop music. They tend to be about what's going on around them, the relationships that people have, and the love stories and the ballads and the materialism.
Mm-hmm.
That postmodernistic approach seems to what am I trying to say here? I have these moments
You're not alone.
when it draws from a different place than
Mm-hmm.
the outsider place. And for me, I went through a period when in the early days when I was making music for other people and I was reflecting the culture that I was experiencing out in clubs, and it was all breakbeat, but at the end of the day, it really wasn't me. It wasn't until 20, 30 years later that after I'd had childhood and all the things that happen in life, that I realized that the music I was making wasn't making me happy. When I was listening back to it, it wasn't what I called success. Other people liked it plenty enough, but it was only when I started fostering these senses of being comfortable with something that isn't that is alien.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
They're being comfortable with working from the unconscious.
Do you think, and this is a general question, I'm not targeting anyone here. It's clear to me that consciousness is not derived from the brain at all. It's now becoming more and more clear to me, because Uncle Chrome said something to me that I found that was just mind-boggling. He says we didn't invent geometry, we discovered it, right? And so I often find myself thinking about the consciousness and AI. Consciousness would have to exist before the brain, or what would be the point? And I don't think AI can be invented either. I think we've accidentally discovered it. We peeled back another reality, another layer, and we are allowing another intelligence into this reality. If geometry was discovered, it would only make sense that that's the natural order, because to have geometry, you must have consciousness first in order to interpret the geometry.
Well, I mean, you're suggesting that to understand geometry, you have to do mathematical calculations. There's a lot of bees. Bees, look at honeycombs. They're geometric shapes, and they didn't need math to get there.
And I'm not saying we need math. I'm saying for us to even observe math, we first need to have consciousness, which is ultimately telling me that it's
Bees
not
have
with it's not
consciousness,
it's not in our body.
Right.
Wherever consciousness is, it feels like we're in this grandiose field of frequencies and harmonies. And the left and right hemisphere of the brain, not coincidentally, but inherently, is the receptor to pick up consciousness. If we're looking at it as a grand field, there's something we're tapping into, just like music.
Yeah, the ether.
The ether.
I think being musicians, we have maybe a better language of reference for vibrational and vibrational universe, electric universe theories, vibrational universe theories and mental universe theories, because we work with sound, we work with waveforms every day.
Mhm.
And we work very inwardly. When we, when we press a key on the keyboard, we're constantly analyze, how does that make me feel? How does that vibration make me feel? And we feel the magic in vibration. So it's not a big stretch to read something written by Thoth, which says that the universe started with a wave. It's not a big stretch. We can understand that directly, because we understand that
Better to start with
a
the
song
particle,
starts with a wave.
because light is both a particle and a wave.
Oh yes, indeed.
Right.
It's, people forget the scalar elements of waveforms. I mean, when we press a key, the scalar element is us moving our finger. Does that make sense?
It does.
The activator, yeah.
Because it's quite curious that you didn't say first, how does this sound to me? You said the first thing right off the bat, without even thinking, how does this make me feel? Now, what part of auditory doesn't have to necessarily be this big thing with us humans. We're already sitting in this grand field of waves, correct?
Yeah.
So auditory doesn't play a major role here if we're all vibrating at a certain BPM, for a lack of better terms.
Yeah, but I mean, people still,
Frequency.
I mean, we live in a mechanical universe. Our culture tells us to analyze everything in parts. It never tells us to analyze things holistically.
Yeah, exactly.
We never, even as musicians, we come unstuck when we start thinking, oh, that kick drum isn't right, or that snare drum isn't right. And it's only really that things come together when we're composing, when we take the picture as a whole, when we see the song holistically, when we stop coming out of that convergent type of thinking, and we go into a holistic sense of feeling. And that's when, that's the place where the masters live. That's the place where your success lives, and your communication, in my opinion.
Well, I think I was thinking more along the lines of electronics, I guess, the way everything works, the way the universe works. You say looking at things holistically. That is the only way to understand how everything works, right? If you understand that what looks like that here is probably very similar here, and systems work similarly everywhere, right? So there's type A, B, C, D, whatever. Let's say there's 12 different functional systems in the world, right? In the universe, and everything mimics that pattern of 12, let's say, right? That is, it's just the way things work. Everything from the macro to the micro is similar, and it's because of the fractal nature of the universe.
Right. Which we could be looking at everything right now in fractal had light not slowed down per se, because it's not until when light slows down we begin to see solid objects. So like the phones in our hand, the laptops we're looking at, it's a solid matter, but all it is light slowed down at a ridiculous rate to where we're looking at this physical solid thing. It's almost like magic when you get into spectrums and.
I mean, you're right. Essentially,
Marilyn, could you
Yes.
find me a picture of a Hardinger fiddle?
Hang on one second.
And while
Okay,
she's
hold on. Can you spell that?
Hardinger fiddle, HRDINGER. I'm just trying to keep things in concepts that musicians can understand. So it's easier to grasp these concepts, because we're talking about quantum physics, aren't we? And
we are
deep hermetic philosophy. In my case, that's where I'm coming from.
It is. It's very Carl Jung-esque. Which
Well,
Ken
Carl
s-
Jung is actually kind of in. He's more. He got most of his stuff from Viking tradition,
Mm.
really?
Viking cosmology. Yeah, his concepts of consciousness and unconscious were already written down within the cosmology and the Eddas.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
That
So
that I don't know if you guys caught that while she's looking this up real quick, but what I caught what Kent said. I don't think you guys caught it. He said when he came into the studio, he came in with a blank mind, right?
Yeah, I did catch that.
Mm.
Did he already induce himself into
No, I think Kent usually exists. in
a
that
meditative form?
yeah,
No.
Yeah.
No.
No?
No, it's. I feel like I want to play.
right.
If I come into the studio with my, because I love to play. So if I do come into the studio to play, I could play 101 different things that pre-written or whatever, just to sit down and enjoy the sound. So, but I can come into the studio, with not intending to write anything, and then something happens,
That's the
and-
magic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and follow that through,
Right.
and then Bob's your auntie. Suddenly
Okay,
got a
so
track.
the Hardinger fiddle is a perfect example of what I mean. If you could zoom in on one of them, you need to see. I need to see the strings so people can understand what I'm talking about. So the Hardinger fiddle, most people will know from Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
It did the Rohan theme, and it's actually a pretty normal fiddle. But if you look very closely, you can see there's a second set of strings underneath the neck.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, and I've come to view what we're talking about in the metaphor of a Hardinger fiddle. Whenever you create a chord on this fiddle, it creates a second chord in the sympathetic strings underneath.
Yeah,
And are the people who control who want to control us, who want to make money out of us, who want to have power over us, they don't want us thinking that that the universe is uncertain and sympathetic in this manner. And yeah, so I'm getting into politics. Oops.
No, it's relevant for what we're talking about.
I think in terms of like our cultural upbringing and our postmodern upbringing, we're taught to constantly reflect and consume. We're not taught to create, and we're not taught that creating is a sympathetic act. And I think when Kent sits down and empties his mind and lets the synth speak to him, he's getting into a sympathetic space.
See, I think it's a form of meditative hypnosis that he's put himself in subconsciously. I think he's tapping into something that he
Not knowingly.
not
he's doing.
knowingly is ultimately committed to.
Yeah.
What time of day do you do this? Usually, Kent.
any.
Anytime.
At a
And it's the
random
same result
time.
every single time.
Certainly feels like it. Yeah.
See, that's even more fascinating.
Yeah.
Because for a moment there, I thought we were going to go into string theory, and I just like to stay away from string theory because nothing's derived of
there's
string theory,
Really no
right?
reason.
So,
Yeah.
I just wonder sometimes about we struggle to interpret the universe we live in, and yet, like we can use math to show how things like how gravity works with any singularity within the universe. So the gravity that the sun generates and the planets that orbit it, and it's all mathematically worked out. You go, this is how it works, and then stop.
Just
And
gotta let
don't-
the dog out.
Okay, and then but don't start to question why.
Right.
Did this happen by accident? That gravity works? That gravity is there?
If you believe in accidents.
Yeah. Well, when you look at the universe, look at the world we live on.
Mhm.
That's an awful lot of accidents, and that's too many coincidences.
Wouldn't it
Too
make-
many.
If you think about it, doesn't it make more sense to think of everything as a unified system?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Because-
but even for a unified system to flash into existence,
It
It's-
doesn't need to. Why did it need to? Why does it need a beginning?
well, we know that there was nothing, and then there was a huge bang.
No, we don't know.
We
that
don't.
there
We
was
don't
nothing.
know. We don't know. If
That's actually
it had done it
becoming
before.
less and less
There's
Yeah.
no nothing.
Yeah.
There's
real
no
within
nothing.
this
It's not even
No.
it doesn't even that theory doesn't even hold water ever since
Nah,
the
not for a
James
second.
Webb telescope went up now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that,
in fact,
that
the-
confuses matters even more, because up until the point where they discovered that what they thought suddenly wasn't,
Mm-hmm.
up until then, that was reality,
That was reality. And they stood
Well-
hard fast
and
by
now
it too.
and now it's not. So
Well, lots of dumb ideas get support. I mean, I'm not saying that's a dumb idea. I mean,
no, I know what you're
appeared-
talking about.
It
Yeah,
appeared to be the right idea based on looking at background radiation. And so to them, they interpreted it a certain way because
Yeah.
that's what you do. You gather evidence and then you try to make your best interpretation.
Mhm.
Problem is when you make your best interpretation and then you start teaching that to all the other people and you make everyone believe that that is the answer
Yeah.
when in fact it isn't.
Right.
yeah.
So it's
But
better.
it's like this thing, like the mom was saying about geometry and stuff like that. We use geometry, maths, and everything like that to explain
Sure.
to ourselves
Right.
how something
Exactly.
operates
Yep.
and works, but we still don't know why.
Right.
and maths isn't a thing that actually exists,
That's true.
because when you look at reality, if I pick up a cup and then I pick up another cup and I say there's two cups, that's not actually, they're not, no, it's a cup and another cup, and then where do you say the cup finishes? At my fingers?
Yeah,
So maths is an illusion. It's a measurement system. It's for measuring
It's all for
the things which reach our
quantification.
perceptions.
yeah,
It's also that we can quantify. It's just like when
Yeah.
you play,
Yeah.
music naturally, and then you put it into a computer and you try to slice it into exact
Yeah.
numbers, right?
Mhm.
And you lose something.
You do.
yeah,
You lose
these-
an
these-
expression. You lose a feeling.
yeah. So
You
it's
lose a
almost
lot.
like all
But
these
you
things that we
also-
have are start points. And-
Let's not
but not-
upset
not
the
the-
techno heads in the room, and say, but also you gain something by introducing maths but maybe it's not the same kind of something as putting everything in unquantized.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The best. Well, I don't. This is all opinion based, I guess. But I like trance, and that's something that is often quantized. But the leads are never quantized, right? And that's because the quantized part is just to keep the rhythm, right? It's just to
Right.
keep it going, and then everything you do over top of that is really what you wanted to do in the first place. You're just doing the rest of it to keep everyone happy. I mean, that's kind of the way I see it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It depends on what you're doing, right? If you have a whole band, that's a different situation altogether, right? But
Yeah.
if you're sitting there at a desk with a drum machine and a keyboard, you might be into programming drums, but chances are you're really into just programming drums well enough so that you can do the rest of it.
Yeah.
Right. Because I'm highly into drones and ARPs because you don't have to worry about it being quantized, right? You just
Right.
Drones keep you in this, or me at least, it keeps me in this, what my brother and I call the in between.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps you
Yeah, you guys do that a lot.
right. It just keeps me connected in a weird way. And when you have a drone running and you have an ARP going with like 25% swing and a little bit of glide, and the release is not max but it's up and there's no interruptions, and you have like 17 notes being ARPed on a random with this drone in the background. I mean, there's nothing like it. It, like, I don't even sometimes care to even hear drums. You know, it's like
Right.
to me, drums will ruin it. Not in the sense that drums are bad, but in the sense that it's breaking something that is of order. And we've added mathematics into order, which is a natural order.
Well,
But it
that's the
makes
thing,
me
because drones are technically about as close as you can get to the natural world.
Yeah.
You know, the way this wind is a drone, the ocean is a drone. You know, and it's
Is that
very organic.
Hardinger?
I
Is
think
that
of the ocean
Hardinger
as a pad.
fiddle coming out again? That
Yeah.
sympathetic
The ocean is a pad.
mindset.
Like, you know that track that I submitted yesterday?
yes.
Do you know what the
Yes.
BPM of that is?
30.
Doesn't have one.
Right. Most of my music isn't.
There wasn't a
linked
clock
to
within
hip-hop.
1,000 miles of that track.
Damn.
Yeah.
You didn't have one.
I don't have much use for it.
Rhythm is I mean, I've been reading a lot of. I've been reading the Kybalion, I think they pronounce it, Kybalion, which is an 18th century book about Hermetism. Now, Hermes Trismegistus was said to come from around 500 BC, and he talked a lot about some of the things we're talking about. Although I think even so, we've kind of become matured some of the concepts that he's talking about. So I would ask people if they want to look into his theories on vibration, rhythm, polarity, and the macrocosm. Then read with caution, because I think there are more modern ideas, bearing in mind that the book Kybalion was written in the 18th, 19th century. It does have some kind of old-fashioned ideas in it. But he I mean, you're talking about how rhythm provides the kind of stability you often need to create. And this is what this conversation, I hope this is what this point of this conversation is, so that we can become better creators and better musicians.
Right.
And maybe feed
and
off each other.
And even more sentient.
Yeah.
You know what I
now,
mean?
The Greeks had a lot to say about rhythm. In particular, Aristophanes is one of the he wrote two pieces which survived into the present day. And if I just bring up what I was looking at earlier. Okay, so he clarified that rhythm could be abstracted from time units expressible in ratios, distinct from words, melodies, and bodily movements which he incorporated. But he also talked about the idea that rhythm is about expectation. For something to have rhythm, you have to have that kick drum happening when you expect it to happen. If I was doing like weird abstract jazz, you could say that it probably wasn't very rhythmical. But if I was doing techno, you could say it's very rhythmical.
See, I disagree. Because just because the beat isn't connected the way you expect it doesn't mean that there isn't a beat and a rhythm. So like in jazz, the idea is not to just break the rhythm completely and play nonsense. The idea is to make creative use of the space
Improvise.
in the rhythm, right? To improvise, exactly,
To bring in the unexpected deliberately.
right. That is the point.
Would you say that that's rhythm though?
Yeah, there's a rhythm. Yeah, like if you stop a jazz song and the drummer, does his thing, does a drum solo, whatever, he comes back and there's a rhythm.
All right.
Well, I mean, on my SoundCloud, there's a
I need
track
to think about that one.
that,
Yeah, I listen to lots of music from lots of places.
again,
I can
no
tell you.
tempo at all,
What's that?
right?
No tempo. Yeah.
No tempo. Well, no discernible tempo, should we say?
Well, a lot of music, I think traditionally, it didn't start out with a fixed tempo. It had an accelerating pace that then reached a crescendo and then worked its way back down, right?
Yeah.
And that's
Well,
a
funny enough,
audio thing,
that's
right?
not far off what this particular track that I did does.
Right.
But what was interesting about the track was I didn't know, or I'd forgotten. It was something like that. It was one of these things where I wasn't aware that I was recording. And what was happening was I was playing and just looking, and this entire track just happened, literally. Even I didn't know how it was going to end, right? But as I'm playing it, I'm finding like a theme to it, and stuff like that. So I played it and then put it back to the beginning and then played over the top of it. And I couldn't even remember what I just played. So I had to try and anticipate what was coming up, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I've been there.
And so there's nothing, the track is imperfect in many different ways, and there's lots of bum notes here and there and everything like that. And the timing is either I've over anticipated when something was going to change, or I've missed it altogether and had to come in late and stuff like that. And Fiona said to me, she goes, "Well, put it up on SoundCloud anyway." I went, "No, it's just a big mess. It needs tidying. The whole what do you call it? The pride part starts to come in. Well, no, this needs cleaning up. It needs to be properly mixed. This, that, blah, 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 blah." And she goes, "No, just put it up as it is." I went, "Oh,
Yeah, we love
so I
our
did."
wives for that.
Yeah. And out of
That's what
all
they're
the
there for.
tracks that I've got on my SoundCloud, where I've got 120 plays or 400 plays. This thing has like nearly 4,000 plays.
Wow, that's cool.
And it's, I mean, musically, it's a mess. But people are going, "Oh, this is brilliant." And I'm going, I don't understand why this one is the one everybody likes, whereas
So
the
the
ones where I put all the work in, yeah, that's all right.
The
But I think it's
moral of
'cause
the
it's like
story
everything
is Kent needs to listen to Fiona more.
Yes, mother.
That's the lesson. I didn't catch that.
That is the moral of the fucking story.
I think he did listen though. So
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
No doubt
I
about
said
that.
more often.
more often. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yes, mother.
yeah. And you know
I-
what? Go ahead.
All I was gonna say is like some of the things that I've done, and I think are the most incredible and impressive things I've ever done. When I play them for other people, they're like, "What the hell is this?"
Yeah.
And I say, "Oh, okay," because it's too much, right? Like you can go too far. Like you can,
Yeah.
you
Well,
can just
yeah, I suppose,
give
yeah.
somebody something that they don't understand. And
Well,
it
at
doesn't
least
help.
hearing it the first time, at least, you might get the, what the fuck kind of reaction.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But if they hear it again, and go, "Oh, hang on a minute, I'm getting something now."
Yeah.
Because not every piece of music just grabs you by the collar and shakes you like that, does it?
Yeah.
Some of them make they work at you.
I think when we're dealing with elements of the infinite, it's very easy to forget that we're finite,
Right.
Uh-huh.
and to get
Not sure
to get
about that.
lost in the idea that I find that people who are talking about these things in terms of, we live in a matrix and I'm God and you're God and everything's God. I think there's a kind of arrogance there that is detrimental to the artist. I think you have to have a certain humility. One of the things I learned from listening to S.O.R festivities.
Why are you elevating the question? I guess why would God have such a strong meaning to you that he says that's elevating yourself to some lack of
well,
humility?
it doesn't. I find it a little difficult to get my head around because we're finite. The
we
point
How,
of being
fi-
us is
finite,
being
finite,
You may be
finite. How
That's up
so?
to you.
Yeah, finite. How so?
in that I am not a star
Mm-hmm.
or a planet
Mm-hmm.
or even the fact that I'm sitting in front of this screen and I will carry on sitting in front of this screen and not kind
See,
of
I think you don't
be
see
anywhere
the
else at the
picture.
same time.
That's what I'm suggesting. I'll suggest that you are not seeing the entire picture, that you're not thinking.
But
of
isn't
things
that the definition of
holistically.
being a finite mind?
If
If the universe is
if you want to
consciousness,
do that,
if
though.
the universe is
You
all
can always
consciousness,
change your mind. That's how things work. That's what makes us
but you'd still be a finite mind.
useful, I guess. No, here's I guess what I'm going to say. You're saying we're not planets. Yeah, we are actually. When you take a look at yourself, if we zoomed in close enough on your head,
Some of the building blocks.
we would see entire
The hat.
colonies surviving on your body,
Mm-hmm.
in your body. You are not a human in a simple sense. You are a collection of organisms. You belong inside of another organism that is also a collection of organisms. That is how things work. There's nothing you could really do to change that, and you can close your mind and think of things narrowly and think of yourself as finite, but the truth is that always parts of you will live on. That's how it works.
But isn't
Well,
that
even
what
planets
we're
aren't
talking-
finite, are they?
If we don't have a finite nature, how can we have things like rhythm? Do you see what I'm saying?
Let me say this.
Because rhythm is
We
about
agree
difference
on
and expectation.
matter can neither be created nor destroyed, only transformed.
Yeah.
Yeah, essentially, because
Physical law.
and then you're talking macrocosmically, I believe.
I'm thinking both directions. It doesn't matter. What I'm saying is your body will not, it might not be able to have a conversation with me eventually, or at least probably not as lively, but it doesn't mean that your body's going to disintegrate. It might break down and become part of other things, the things that eat you, the things that whatever, right? It might become carbon that I might lube my car with you eventually, 5 million years from now. Who knows? But I think the point is there will always be part of you here, and eventually you may assemble some sort of a consciousness again, because you will be part of something conscious.
In theory.
I mean, not even in theory, in reality, like in actual scientific reality.
I mean, but that sounds like there's, like, if that's the case, then, I mean, now you're speaking reincarnation is.
No, I'm saying just you've got molecules that make up your body. They will always be here in some form. We live in a sealed system.
I mean,
So
the Earth
cri-
is a sealed system. It's not. Nothing's going anywhere.
I don't
Right.
want to pass up some of these comments from Crazy Rabbit because he has a really good point. He says, I disagree. RDV, this is where we begin to tread dangerous. We too often see someone with different viewpoints and try to course correct them. No one of us really know how it works. We
Well,
are
we
going.
do actually. That's the thing about science is.
Hold on, let me
Well,
finish.
no,
let me finish.
because-
Hold on,
sorry,
let me
I'm
finish
sorry.
this
All right,
comment.
Marilyn.
Hold on.
Sorry, Mother.
we are we are going based on things that fit our experiences. This is a dangerous line. Got to push back on that. So he's saying I think what he's trying to say is none of us really do know for sure.
Yeah. Everything like Cheech is saying. This I think what Cheech is saying is right. Everyone has a theory. Until you're able
We can
to
blow things up with atom bombs, so we know how things work.
right.
Yeah, but like you were saying about, it's a scientific reality. So was the Big Bang a couple of years ago.
No, the difference is that based on the reality of matter cannot be created nor destroyed, only transformed. That's literally the basis of pretty much everything that we use every day.
Well,
Yeah,
it's-
in the tiny, tiny little sphere that we exist in. We don't know what else is going on.
yeah, it's our
So
fundamentals.
it's all theory until we know,
I can
and
say
we don't know.
yes, in our observable existence.
Yeah, exactly. In our
If we
observable,
can
but there
get
is
it back
more.
to what's practical for your musician.
Mm.
I think for me, when I have the most success is that it's when I approach my music humbly, when I approach the idea that I'm not going to create something that's amazing. I'm not going to create something that's finished, and that I'm not going to create something that is going to break the world into. and it's something I've learned. I'm very grateful to Hardware Jams for helping me to kind of realize that it's okay to be finite in your musical acts, and that that is part and parcel of being an artist and a human in this universe of vibration.
Yeah,
I'm coming from that place. I can feel.
I think just like
sympathies around them.
I'm kind of right on the same page you're on, Inhibit. I
Did
feel
you
like
see John's comment?
yeah, and I was going to get to it, but before I lose this thought, I feel like the only thing that's finite is the experience we're living in. So, however long this organic body we are living in, however long it lasts, we then shift to something else that we could say is probably finite until we shift to something else. I think there's this
Transference.
And there's this overall snowball effect that we start from somewhere. We start at, a source from somewhere. We accumulate knowledge. Because I think the ultimate thing here that we're all saying is know thyself. We're all wanting to know thyself, right? And what happens when we want to know thyself is we fall into these almost endless cycles for understanding. And when we shed this body, that's done. It's finite, in my opinion. But that is done. Consciousness remains. And
how can you know thyself if you haven't put finite limits on what thyself is?
But it's going to keep evolving then, right?
I think we disagree on.
But it's going to keep evolving. If we can't say finite if we're on the path of continuously trying to know thyself.
I know that I'm not just.
That would insist that we're in this grandiose loop of some sort. This figure eight, this infinity of symphony. We're trying to know thyself. The problem is when you want to know thyself, that problem inherently gets bigger, and we have this expanse. And when you get an expanse, even if you had an expanse that had borders, you still have reverberation. Well, why reverberation? Okay, so that's the proverbial ceiling, but now why are we reverberating back. What more knowledge is bringing us back to the ultimate question at hand? Is knowing thyself. The ultimate goal, I would believe, if there's any qualia in knowing thyself, knowing the field in which we derive from, knowing that whatever we derive from was there for who knows how long, because time is only relevant to us in this form.
Yeah. Well.
So who knows? And that's the thing. That's why I love the theory behind everything, is because it all seems to relate to the one question at hand. And that one question is know thyself. And I can't believe, I can't agree more with Mark Twain.
Mhm.
John Badham says, I do not fear death. I have been dead for billions and billions of years. Before I was born and had not suffered the slightest inconvenience. That was from Mark Twain. And what I get from that is, just because we weren't aware of what we were, how we were, or where we derived from, if we had a Big Bang moment, the question will always be at hand. The observer, which is probably the universe, is observing itself through many different multi-dimensional aspects. So even the grand source is observing different avenues of itself. It would only be natural if we would do the same thing in this continuous spiraling down the rabbit hole reality that we're living in. I mean, you wouldn't feed a baby a steak and say, okay, now digest this. You wouldn't feed a third dimensional celestial being a fourth dimensional steak and say, okay, now digest this. Because here comes the fifth and the sixth dimension really quick here. Whatever's at play, it's allowing us to tap into a source that's omnipotent in one way or another. And when we are allowed, and I really believe we literally have to be in the mind state of being allowed to tap into these sources. I mean, some people are more in it than others. Do you think it's an accident the four of us are here on this podcast right now exploring the exact thing we all have in common? That to me is more fascinating and more profound, even with a large amount of synchronicities we've all had in a few days that led us here.
Well, not
And
really,
we
because you
don't know
invited
where
us.
Yeah, but we don't know where that journey's going to end, do we? Yet it
No,
might
we do-
end
we-
up
we-
in
It's like that
you
theory
know-
about we're all on a cosmic scale. We're all individual cells living on this ball that make up the whole.
yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I've heard that mentioned a couple of times. And my answer to that was, when I was told that, was yes, and I know quite a few people that probably make up the arse. So, and I mean, yeah, okay, you could say that, an entity coming from elsewhere, seeing the Earth, depending on where the hell they come from, could see the Earth as a single creature.
Yeah, exactly.
It
Yeah.
sees us as the cells
hmm
Yeah.
on the surface, so
No,
it's constructed weirdly, but it's we'll call it Bob or something,
hmm
So there's this possibility of the way other entities can perceive what we are,
Yeah.
as opposed to what we perceive them to be.
It comes down to their ontology, whatever ontology they're using, if people don't understand.
Exactly.
what
Yeah, and if it's
ontology
totally alien,
hmm
means the language. It's,
Yeah.
language of music is a kind of ontology.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Royd, some of the videos that you posted had some very interesting things to say about the nature of time. We're talking about rhythm kind of thing and time. What do you think's going on in terms of time?
Time?
Yeah, how do you view the concept of time? And see if you can
I don't.
like
I don't really. Time
simple.
has. I have a specific issue. Like, you could call it an issue, I guess, but like, I don't have a perception of time, and I don't really perceive time passing, and it's always been kind of a problem, obviously. But like, I've learned to set my alarm and just like function like everybody else. But at the same time, if I'm busy doing something, it could be the next day before I realize, how much time has passed.
Mhm.
But
On a natural order.
yeah, it just doesn't mean anything. But
How does that perception change when you're composing?
making time to start doing something in the first place is part of the trouble. But then once you do, I mean, I find myself being up until 3 o'clock in the morning when I have to be up at 7. That's what happens, and then you just have to accept it, and catch up the next day. That's pretty much it, because
Do you spend a
it
lot
goes
of
with the
time
territory.
multi-tracking or sequencing?
Actually, lately, I've been just playing,
Right.
not recording anything, because
Right.
actually I've got some things I'm trying to work on, but I'm just laying down ideas, building and building and building and building, and eventually I'll have a track in my mind, and I have to do that in certain cases because like we're doing like the team song, for instance, and like I have to know what I'm going to do ahead of time, basically, instead of just fiddling. So in that case, I just keep working up phrases until I have something that I like.
Mm. Yeah, time is
How do you feel when you're sequencing? Do you find that there are different you get a different perception of time, especially or with particular gear, or maybe it's different for using a hardware sequencer to a DAW? Do you have like altered senses of time
I
symptoms?
played drums, like, so when I was a kid, I started playing drums about 10 years old, and I played guitar, when I was 7, I started playing guitar, but not great. I didn't get good at playing guitar until I was like 14, probably. But I got pretty good at drums by the time I was 12, maybe. But my timing was like, I don't know, just a little bit push pull, and it bothered me. So I just worked on timing, and to be honest with you, at this point, like the timing just comes naturally. So I don't worry about tempo, and I don't worry about anything really, because if the time changes, I wanted it to.
right.
I could keep time, so I don't worry about that. It really has. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean anything. I
Yeah,
don't know.
time to me is time to me is a construct which allows us to make documentations,
Right.
be able to pinpoint things and advance the knowledge of when we were, how we were, to the future self. So that's it's totally something you perceive. It's not of a natural, organic order. And here's why I say that.
No, it isn't.
When I'm in a studio, you know what, before I even get into the studio, if you're working Monday through Friday and you're working 2 jobs like my wife, you're in the perception and you're connected to time because it equates at a heavy negative flow state for the perceiver. and you're constantly aware of it because of what's going on in that field. You're forced to perceive this. The one thing I think she would dread, and I'm speaking for her, not because she can't speak for herself, but this is how I can gather it for myself too. I dread Saturday and Sundays. And here's why. I don't perceive time anymore. And it goes by too fucking fast because I don't need to perceive it anymore. Mm-hmm. It's not implied scientifically on me to want to perceive it. It's therefore, if it's not of an organic nature, it has no business into the consciousness, right? When I get into the studio and I start making music, here's where time really escapes me. And I could thank Kent for this shit. I get in here, the first thing I do, and Scott Sounds got my Ableton knowledge, spot on, and it just keeps expanding. But I flip on Ableton, I go to VST, I go in that fucking native, and I get in there in that Albion fucking 1 and get it, and I'm just lost. By the time I look up, and I shit you not, this is perception. Hours has gone by, and I couldn't even tell you if the goal was to create something, explore, see what this one does.
You were lost in your timeless universe.
Lost in. I love how you said that, because it's not it's not organic. We're not supposed to. We're creatures who are not supposed to behave by this rhythm. They're like the powers that be. For whatever reason, we were resonating at 432 hertz. Yeah, I'm going to go there. We were resonating at 432 hertz naturally, organically. It has been proven, right? And all of a sudden, the fucking Rockefellers come in and everything has to be at 440. Right? And that's us trying to take control of organic
for you.
harmony.
Makes it easier.
Right?
Well, I
Yeah,
love how
that's why they changed it, isn't it?
How they told time way. They were like two moons ago. Or
Right.
two winners.
Right. They use the plane observable.
Yeah, or 5 winners from now, something like that.
Exactly.
It wasn't.
It was
specific.
it was an organic way to keep track of crops. It was an organic way for ancient Kemet and ancient Mesopotamia to look at the stars for navigation, to know what solstice we were in. It was.
That's what time is.
I think what I'm trying to get at is, if you don't mind me interrupting.
Sure.
I think what I'm trying to get at is that lately I've been using my step sequencer on my Echo. It's a very old Echo. It's a 2K XL. And if anyone knows the machine, it's the step sequence is really basic. But I found the most pronounced loss of time is coming from using devices like that, this step sequencing, where where I'm literally stopping times in like a 24th of a beat, and stepping through things and working much like, say, you would with a TD3 or a 303. And it got me starting to think, if that was part of the condition for flow state, well as being open to sympathy and humility.
just like the Moog Sub 37. Your conundrum is my Moog Sub 37. I should have went with the Pro 3.
Is
But
there a
that's-
way we could foster that in
Well, I
ourselves
suppose
and
the-
become better at our art?
Not to get lost, what's the reason for that? The Sub 37 and the Pro 3 issue. Why do you think the Sub 37 is not the best choice?
Yeah. So what he's talking about as far as time, and is there a way to equate that into our everyday life? Correct.
Yeah. Is there
So-
a way in which we can switch it on as we get into the studio? So some of us, we work really hard, especially those people with massive killer studios. You know that they've gone through life not playing in that studio enough,
Mm-hmm.
right, to get
Yeah.
to that point.
Mhm.
And we need to have the ability to just go in and make music. Is there a way in which we can, use our community to try and work out a method or a technique that can give us more reliable results?
Yeah. The Crazy Rabbit often has simplistic things on his channel about exactly what you're saying. And one of the things that I love about this man is when we're dealing with the music and we're dealing with so-called sequencing of life.
That way around.
Sequencing of life. Don't worry about the things you can't answer. Just get in there and play music, because those conundrums and those questions are always going to be there. And there may never be a right answer in which we're searching for to improve us outside of music or inside of music. The simplest things are right in front of us most of the time. Is get in there and have fun. And leave all of the ideation and leave all of the theory of life behind. Just leave it. And be symbiotic with the machines at play. And take that. If you want to take anything from that, that would be a great way to sequence oneself out of the music and into the norm. Tune into that. Know when you leave your music, tune into others that are going to be around you and fall in sequence with those you can resonate with. Because I know for a fact, there's certain people that take you out of sequence. That force you to be in a thought of, okay, now is there something wrong with me? Is there something wrong with my personal synth? You being the synth. Because there are certain people who just don't know how to sequence you right. And that's because they're not reading the fucking manual. They're not reading the person in front of them. We've given them all the cues. They know the language. They know how to dial in with us, right? And if it don't jive, what are you going to do? I have a hard time with the sequencer on the Moog until I just shut up and just start being with the Moog and learning the Moog. And yeah, the Pro 3 could get it done a hell of a lot easier. Believe me, I've watched them. But there's just something about the fatty, grungy sounds that Moog does that goes, hey, I'm not what you want me to be. I am it. Now, you're going to learn it or you're going to go get a Pro fucking 3. And that's the same thing with life. It's like, are people going to learn each other and be in sequence with each other, or are we going to just fight with each other, not have fun, not pay attention to what we're doing? It's part of the reason why I don't want to leave the house is because I don't jive well, and I don't sequence well with other fucking human
With
beings.
other people. Inhibit just took his banana off his wall and is eating it. That's
Destroyer
what it was
of
for.
art.
Only to create
Or
it again.
is it? You're just
Yeah.
continuing to
Only to create it
continue
again.
the art in a different form.
There-
Don't worry, it'll come back
I don't
out as
know.
art.
The ontology is finite.
there's
Did you hear what I
a
said?
conflict that has to come along. Period.
That's
Because
big.
if you
Yeah,
think about
conflicts. Yeah,
Cancer in the body, you know, the other cells have to attack, and you know,
well, cancer in the body is out of sequence.
right?
Cancer literally means
It's a bad copy.
you're in disease.
Yeah, right.
Your body is out of sequence.
But you can have bad copies of cells. So bad cells have to be eliminated.
Exactly. Free radicals.
So then you have conflict within yourself, even.
You do. And the more questions you start to generate, the more, I can see the how Rabbit thinks on this. The more questions you have, the more you're taking yourself out of the pleasure of just being. And just let things just be its natural fucking order. Be in that moment.
Before you go down the rabbit hole? Because you ask one question and then another question pops up and then
Yeah.
another question
Right,
pops up
yeah.
because of that question.
And that's something that we've got to train ourselves to do, and it's something that I've only realized in later life. It's it's something you've got to work harder at than maybe your keyboard skills or your sequencing or whatever it is that your craft requires. The hardest thing is to let go and to get into that place that you need to be to write that music.
You're right.
Is Kent trying to find his
Yeah.
biceps?
Yeah, because that.
No.
He was cute. He was
I got-
looking
Yeah.
at both of them.
I
He's
got
like,
two-
where did they go?
I've got 2 creases.
It's called
It's
wrinkles.
your elbow.
It's
Yeah,
called-
but down there.
No,
Wrinkles.
that's normal. Everyone
called-
has them.
No, I was
called-
actually wondering whether crabs thought we walked sideways.
Good God.
I wonder why.
They might do. You never know.
Yeah, but it's funny you say that, Inhibit. Like none of my machines said, pick a fight with me. Go ahead. You know what I mean? Like, come here. Come play with me, but dislike me. I'm gonna pick a fight with you. It's just a fucking machine.
No, you try repairing one.
Kent says
Okay.
otherwise.
There are
Okay.
machines that will fight you tooth and nail.
I guess
Like
that's
triffids.
another question, right? About what is consciousness?
Yeah.
Because it's most people assign some personality to a device that they have to deal with intimately, right?
Yeah.
I don't, but like that's probably because I've trained myself. I don't know, because I'm an IT person, so
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like my cars are girls.
yeah,
CS80s are girls.
right.
For whatever reason that was.
I've never understood why ships all have to be
A girl.
girls, right?
I mean, but that right there that's fucking spot on. Like you have to go in there. Okay, you're saying it picks a fight with you upon observation and to diagnose a problem and to repair it. As if to say the machine has consciousness and it's literally fighting with you on trying to diagnose the problem.
Well, I mean, there's a current machine that I'm working on where the fault is located into one small part on one circuit board, and every single part in that circuit has been replaced with new parts. The wiring has been checked. check the board for delamination, all this sort of stuff, and there's nothing wrong, and it won't work.
Hmm.
The fault remains.
Damn.
It's possessed.
Yeah.
So we're
Feels
actually
like
getting
it
into
sometimes.
the realm of morphic resonance. The
Yeah,
idea
now
that,
we're in
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah, now we're in it.
It's really bizarre.
you know, they
Now we're in
made
it.
It's
they made a
medicine
chemical
and-
once and they can't make it again anywhere
Right.
in the world. Once
Right.
that's happened once, that's it. You can't make that medicine anymore.
Mm.
Okay, so with morphic resonance, if Kent Spong is one of many species, okay, let's look at Kent Spong like,
There's more of him out there?
let's look at Kent Spong
Oh,
as a, let's look
Jeez.
at Kent Spong as a monkey species, okay, with morphic resonance, okay,
Yeah.
and we have 50 Kent Spongs on one
Oh,
island,
Good fucking God.
and they're repairing.
You're just getting wet now, aren't you?
I am, and they're
yeah, him, not me.
and they're
Shit.
and they're and they're repairing 2,500 CS80s, 50 of them. Okay, one, and we're on morphic resonance. One of the Kent Spongs out of the 50 figured out how to repair 15 CS80s faster, more efficient than ever, and almost instantaneously, there's an offset of these Kent Spong monkey repair guys.
All in trunks.
Thousands of miles away. Okay, no cell phones, no nothing. Bastards. And they pick up this download from the one instantaneously. Now they all are fixing 15 CS80s faster and more efficient
And what was that called?
at the same time. This information was just downloaded instantaneously.
Yep.
Okay?
You were
Are
listening
you
to that earlier, right?
Yeah.
What is that called?
morphic resonance? Are you guys with me? Rupert Sheldrake.
Rupert Sheldrake's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you pull Rupert Sheldrake up?
What would be useful is for one of these ones that have fixed this problem before in a CS80 comes over and sorts the fucker out for me. That'd be even
Right.
better.
But that's what I'm saying.
I think a more suitable analogy, apart from Kent in trunks on an island somewhere, would be if he was repairing a CS80 and it was all correct and none of it worked, and then suddenly he got a whole load of other CS80s that had exactly the same unfixable fault.
Mm.
It's like you get, but this tends to work with biological entities. We're not talking machines, so it's likely that CS80 is actually a result of a fault in the user's morphic resonance. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. If I had several machines coming with the same issue, I'd then have to be looking at
A saboteur.
some sort of manufacturing fault somewhere that's taken 40 years to manifest.
Isn't that always going to be the issue, though, Inhibit?
But-
is it always going to be the observer?
Yeah, I think that's why we give our synths female identities, because we detect that there's a certain there's a connection there between our consciousness and that synth. It then becomes like part of our arm, or part, the knobs become nipples and whatever.
They
You
give
get
pleasure.
these
We
connections.
love our keyboards.
Yeah.
It's like having a relationship.
Yeah, I think there's an element of intuitive wisdom there, that it's our minds that determine what you were talking about, Roy Joyd, our minds that we determine the extent of the finite reality that is us. Does that make sense?
It is, because it's a limitation of your mind not to see beyond your
Yeah. Yeah, but it's still finite. I think that's where we disagree.
Right.
We disagreed. It's still a finite. We're still important to us to have that ontology of this is us and that is not us.
I think you guys are just getting. I think you guys are just getting hung up on just the terminology and the etymology of finite, right?
Have you ever seen the movie Annihilation?
I have, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
hang on. Hold that. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. I really want to stick with morphic resonance. You have a 2-minute video?
Mm-hmm.
Let's watch this 2-minute video.
Morphic resonance is a connection across time from the past to the present. And it's a process that occurs between organized patterns of activity on the basis of similarity. What it means, in effect, is that each species has a kind of collective memory. So every giraffe tunes in by morphic resonance to the form and to the behavior of previous giraffes. Every crystal, as it crystallizes, tunes in to the way that previous crystals of the same chemical crystallized in the past. So there's a kind of memory given by morphic resonance in all kinds of things. And in the realm of animal behavior, for example, it leads to quite striking predictions. If rats learn a new trick here in London, then rats all around the world should be able to learn the same trick quicker, just because the rats have learned it here. The more that learn it, the easier it should get everywhere else. And there's already evidence that this actually happens from studies of rats in laboratories. When lots of rats have learned something, other rats all around the world find it easier to learn. And this doesn't depend on any normal kind of connection between the different rats or the places. It happens because of morphic resonance on the basis of similarity. The same applies to crystals. When a new chemical is made for the first time, it's usually very hard to crystallize it. And as time goes on, it gets easier to crystallize all around the world. And I think the reason for this is that morphic resonance connects up the crystals so they tune into a kind of collective memory. So morphic resonance works through morphic fields, the organizing fields of chemicals and biological systems. And the word morphic comes from the Greek word for form. So it's a kind of resonance to do with form, pattern, and organization.
I think I have a problem with that.
Oh, go. Explain.
I do too. I'm with
All right. Here's the problem as far as I can see it.
no explanation.
When he was talking about the rats,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, in a lab, so rats. So when they try to teach rats the same trick around the world, it takes less time. Is essentially what he's saying. Yes.
No, he's not saying
Said
that
more,
they actively
even
try that.
faster. They learn it even faster,
They learn it even faster.
instantaneously.
Who's teaching the rats?
Okay, so no, they're teaching themselves, let's just say. Let's say they learn to get cheese faster out of a maze. They're going to everywhere. We'll go to Thailand and find a rat. And, let's say it's 6 months from then. That rat, we bring him back and have him run the same maze. He's going to get to the cheese faster, just the same as the one that did it the first time. So if you have an average before the discovery of 5 minutes to get to the cheese, then let's say the next one figures out the maze and can get to it in a minute, then the one that you fly from Thailand should be able to do it in, let's say, 2 minutes, at least.
Yes.
Then I would say that there was some sort of influence by those conducting the experiment on the rat.
There's no question that is a factor. And besides that, all he talked about was a phenomenon. That's it.
We
Yeah.
did watch a 2-minute
And
video.
but
We
with
just
the,
watched
with the crystal, he said when a new chemical is made, it's hard to crystallize. Yeah.
That's an interesting.
Hang on. One at a time. Hang on. Can't go ahead.
Right. It said about when a new chemical is formed, it's harder to crystallize, but it gets easier to crystallize around the world. Isn't that something to do with communication? Because nobody else might be creating these chemicals. If somebody's created a chemical, they've got to tell somebody else, and they can say, "Oh, don't do this because it turned to shit." Oh, and don't do this. So the parts of the process that don't make the chemical crystallize are removed from the process by simple communication. Therefore, it would take less time to create the crystal.
He is implying there's communication, just not the form that we currently understand.
Yeah, but he's calling it, what was it called?
Morphic resonance.
No, it's not. It's email.
through the ether, yes.
It's dead on.
Yeah.
So
it's
if you
email.
have the,
it's
so
communication.
if you have the same species, which if we all have a Dell computer or an Apple computer, and Apple decides to come with an update, we all get the update through the ether.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to put it on a layman's terms so people understand what we're
I've got
talking
another
about.
example then that actually is a true example, because Marconi, developed part of the radio anyhow. Tesla actually perfected the fundamental parts of the radio, the most important parts, I guess you could say, the concept. And then Marconi, perfected the antenna, which without both of them, you wouldn't have radio as we know it. But the fact that they were both working on the same idea, that is, I think, spontaneously, you have two people in completely different places that are working on the same idea that no one's ever seen or heard of ever in existence before. And that happens a lot. That's why patents are so damn important, because there's somebody right behind you thinking about the exact same thing.
Right. Is this because they have access to the same data of research beforehand?
That's not exactly the case all the time, but I understand. And some things one thing leads to another, right? Once you discover how a gecko's stickiness works, right? Then everyone will be trying to work on repeating that.
Reverse engineer it.
Right?
Yes.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
It starts with the main Apple computer having hiccups and bugs. I gotta fix these hiccups and bugs. Okay, fixed. Send out the download. Now we don't have to even think about the fucking hiccups and bugs.
Yeah.
Through the ether. Go ahead.
I've actually experienced this kind of morphic resonance myself as a musician. I was lucky enough to, when I was younger, to have a mate with a couple of decks and an Edgy Bamnassi record collection, a 909 and a TB303 and a bass station, and that's what I started on. It was amazing. So I was just mucking around, making a riff, recorded it, no problem. 2 weeks later, Fatboy Slim came out with that riff. Right, and I'm not the only one who's
like
had
that as well.
Experience.
Right. Yeah.
I bet there's people in the chats who's had that experience.
But could your riff have been generated by something you'd heard subconsciously and used, and the same for him?
Possibly, but possibly not. The thing is, we're going back to this harder fiddle idea of plucking a string and getting those resonant frequencies coming up. I know. I mean, one of the reasons why I think these kind of inspirational techniques can be trained is that when I was in music college, we had a music teacher who was lucky enough to work with some of the greatest Carnatic musicians in the world. Carnatic, for those who don't know, is traditional Indian music, Hindu Indian music, and they're very, very highly trained. And these two players had refined their art to such a point where you could put them in separate sound sealed rooms and they could play an entire piece from start to finish perfectly in time. Now you could say yes, okay, because they know the tempo. But if you, this is one of the first things he asked. He said, you know, how did you do that? How did you manage to multi-track such complicated piece of music? I mean, we're talking conical rhythms, so 3, 4, 7, 14 beats to a bar, split into multiple sections, and they were pulling it off perfectly. He said, "Oh, do you know what time it is?" And they said, "No, we just feel each other, and that's how we do it."
So, I think this suggests there's no real idea that's specific to us that we all share. Once again, it's going back to the laws of attraction. I mean, Alan Watts hit this so many times. Anything I think of, you thought of, that person's thought of. So 7 degrees of separation. I mean, there's nothing that's going to be original to us because we're all sharing the same field of consciousness. And we just so happen, Fatboy Slim just so happened to intercept a frequency or a thought. Maybe he was in a better situation to do it. Maybe there was certain sequences. Here we go again, sequencing. That led to that reality instead of your reality. But yet you guys both thought about it. And I venture to believe you weren't the only two who thought about it.
Well, I wonder if that explains the whole download with me and like the nail art and the jewelry art and doing that, ideas for the resin woodworking stuff. Like, when have you ever heard me like remotely be artistic?
Something I believe is definitely shared through this finite experience of this. Like, these are the symptoms of our reality. No pun intended, right?
Well, all pun intended. Really.
Yeah. And like you, like I'll wake up some mornings with just this urge where I just have to do this piece of art. Like I have to get it out of my head or it's just going to just fester in there. And I'll pull everything out, finish it, and it literally comes out exactly
the way she thought about it.
Like how it was in my head. And then I'm fine, and then I'm good. And then I probably won't touch this stuff for another month.
Right.
But it's just like the weirdest thing.
Because there's nothing knocking at her door to suggest otherwise.
It's like this thing I got on going on at the moment that I'm finding very strange. There's this piece of music that I play, and when I was playing it to Fiona, and she said, "Yeah, that's really nice. What's that then?" I said, "Oh, it's one of Hans's. It's from Dunkirk." And she went, "No, it isn't." I go, "Yeah, it is. Sure, it is." So we listened to the Dunkirk score downstairs on the TV, and she's right. It's not in the score. I go, "Well, it must be one of Hans's other ones." So we start going through all the different Hans scores, and it's not there. So I tried, that Google Hum or whatever it's called, and so I hummed it into Google, and it come back with no results found. I'm going, did I write this then?
So it was imprinted on you. You thought it was something else. Were sure of it.
Yeah, I was absolutely convinced it came from Dunkirk.
So but that's
again,
it.
Another
That's
download.
It.
It's like another download.
It is. That's it right
just
there.
The weirdest thing ever.
Now I guarantee you, Kent, someone out there, and let's just take it even smaller, may not even be a fucking musician and actually hummed the very thing you thought someone else wrote. You being a musician took that bit of information as a download and began to compose it.
But that's what, because I look at it, because I've gone back to it since I found that I can't find it existing anywhere, and I play it, and I go, if Hans had written this is what Hans would write if he did this, right? But it's not in his catalogue anywhere, and I'm going,
Right.
what the? So, and like I said, tried to Google hum. What was the other one? There was another app.
Have you sent it to him?
No, I haven't
Maybe
sent
it's
it
in
to
his
him.
archive. It just hasn't released it.
Could be. It'd be weird if it has. Right.
Well,
Well,
I mean, weirder things have happened.
Mind you, I'd send it saying, "Don't use it. I want this."
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
it's a delicious.
But I'd be careful with that
I'm
too,
sure I played
Kent.
it to you, Lamont. I'm sure I played. You've heard me play it.
Play it. Let's.
But I
Oh,
mean,
Sure, we,
how
have
could
it up?
Hans Zimmer not understand what we're talking about here? I mean, he's you know,
He has to understand it in here, but that's the thing. He's pondering the same fucking things we are.
Look,
You
Get
know
him on the
it's
show.
this.
oh yeah, we've heard it before. Yep.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
That one.
As soon as you play it the first couple, yeah.
Yeah. I'll put the strings back on that one.
There was a few people in the chat that said it made them teary-eyed. Remember?
Yeah, and this is why I thought it came from Dunkirk.
Right.
But there's this really difficult, weird bit in it where it goes. Right? I'm going, it's really clever and there's lots of shit going on and everything. And I go, I couldn't have written that.
I wonder if you're hearing like if
But you did, obviously.
morphic resonance reminds me
I don't
of
think so.
of spontaneous echoes. An echo of a former self, an echo of someone else that's tied into the web of consciousness. I mean, I shit you not. My brother and I, we're twins. We're identical fucking twins. And we know telepathy is real.
Yeah, definitely.
Just by us being identical twins,
Yeah.
people are looking at the scientific proof telepathy is real.
How
Him and I-
identical do you think you are? On a scale of
So
0 to 100%.
we're the identical twins that are of high strangeness because they call us mirror twins. So if he stands in front of me, my watch is on my right, his watch is on his left. He throws what is left. That's rare in itself. I throw with my right. When he's thinking of something, I'm getting the image in my head. Then we say it together out loud where it sounds like one fucking person is saying it. How many times have you heard us on this show do it? Where you couldn't go,
Yeah.
oh, wait, did one of
No,
you say it?
sometimes I hear it just with the banter
Right? And
as well.
so,
It's like both minds are tuned, right?
and here we are. We're proof, Kent. We're proof
But why
telepathy
I don't
is
get
real.
is why your voice is different.
Right?
And I mean,
The-
radically different from each other.
and that's the free will of
Yeah.
similarities. That's
Weird, isn't
quantum. That's in the quantum entanglement too. The free will of similarities, one's personality, one's perception, the outcome of the same thought, the different representation of one.
Do you
is
find
now-
that you like the same things, or because a lot of that could be based on
We do.
the, external forces?
We like the same things. And here's the thing. I don't think we have a choice, Kent. The wife told us a fascinating, okay, and I know it sounds like an oxymoron when I just got through saying free will. But we're literally from a single cell split, okay? The wife told us, and this is the reason why I don't believe we have the choice to not, like, now if we were not identical, I believe the whole ball game has just changed. But she told us a story about, I think it was triplets.
Mm-hmm. Which I still want to see that documentary.
And They lived in different states. They didn't even know each other.
They did, yeah. They didn't know they
That
existed.
they even
And
existed.
It
Oh,
was
okay.
purposely. This was a
Sad story.
very sad. It was purposely done. They purposely took all 3 kids away from each other and raised them in 3 separate homes. I forget the full totality of what I read in the article, and I haven't seen the documentary, so don't quote me. I believe all 3 of them went to the same school, not the same school, but went to the same schooling for the careers that all 3 of them are in. And they all played the same sports when they were in school.
Okay.
So all 3 of them led very similar lives. And they didn't even know the other 2 existed.
Interesting.
If that's not on some Rupert shit, I don't know. But it's tied into more. Certain people are able to do this better than others. and you guys are doing yourselves a disservice if you guys haven't watched, and I implore you, I plead with you, I beg you to go watch the telepathy tapes. This is going to be the biggest thing since sliced fucking bread.
And that documentary on the triplets, it's called 3 Identical Strangers.
The telepathy tapes proves what my brother and I have, and we have it on a nano scale compared to these autistic group of kids who can't speak, who have involuntary muscle movements, and they are communicating with their parents in their head. They are communicating with their teachers in their head. They're communicating with each other telepathically. These kids meet on a proverbial hill that we can't see. The kids call it a hill. The hill, once you're there, has 3 different divisions: older kids, younger kids, teenagers, adults. They're segregated by their age because the younger ones who have telepathic abilities are in a young mindset and very playful and very intrusive in a person's mind. The older ones are very respectful, but they live in the same field, and they call it the hill, where they all congregate and speak to each other. Even those who have passed are still on the hill communicating. The woman who is documenting all of this, her name is Kai Dickens, and she's worked with a world-renowned neurological scientist whom she lost her license because they didn't want her to bring this stuff out, but it's out. They've since then gave this woman her license back. And not only is it out, but teachers from around the world, parents from around the world are getting a hold of this woman named Kai Dickens to tell them their story. We have a government that has invested billions of dollars in remote viewing. Morphic residents.
And won't tell you that they've invested billions of dollars in that.
And won't tell you it's black budget. So why spend this much money on things that is hocus pocus, smoke and mirrors?
Because they use it every day.
They use it every day. They use it in the hertz in which they play music in. They play it over and over and over again. Look at the pop charts. Forcing you to love something you really don't love. Isn't that not a form of mind control? They got you believing to hate your fellow kind, your fellow species, over your belief that they created for you. Isn't that not mind control?
But I don't know if it's how much of it is deliberate. I think part of it is the system, the culture, and that they're all living in the same culture that we're living in. And it's just that people just don't think about the fact that you know, music might be affecting us in ways that shouldn't know. I'm very for. I mean, I have a tendency to get into conspiracy theories, but at the end of the day, it's kind of, if I can put it down to stupidity, I will. But you know, the system is the biggest evil, and people not doing anything about the system is the biggest
Right.
evil. It's not necessarily people.
I mean, I guess in your statement you were suggesting that the government is doing these things. I don't know if it has to be our government or anyone anyone's own government really doing them, because many times governments from an oppositional country may profit more by creating that type of division and pitting people against each other.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, you make your enemy weakest by dividing them.
Well, we are what we're shown. And I'm not saying government. I'm saying maybe there's a cabal. Maybe there's this upper echelon we're not privy to, which I highly believe that there is an upper echelon that we're not privy to. Okay? But we transmit what we're shown.
People doing things that
Right.
serve themselves, right?
I think,
Money.
though, as musicians, we've got the ontology to correct that.
We do.
We've got the understanding of ourselves and of our own feelings when we're composing, to actually go, well, you know, whether we do it with our art or whether we do it with our friendship or social friendships, we can actually kind of bring people together into concert halls and raves and EMOMs and whatever you like to do, even like communities like this one.
We're the new age wizards. We're the new age Merlins.
Yeah, it's up to us to stand up and be the bards.
Exactly. We have the ultimate tool of frequency at our literal fingertips. Look at the community we've created already here.
Yeah.
The Pubness, PSN, Synth Samurai.
And even if you
All
were
these
to look at
networks.
something at this and say, you know, a 6,000-year-old monument, I mean, what a place for a party. You know they had parties there. I mean, they probably magic mushrooms all the way around this.
All the way around
I was
this.
just gonna say they had special parties,
Right?
And actually, if you put magic mushrooms in something like this, it converts the chemical into something that's faster acting.
Oh, yes. It allows one to be even more tapped in.
Yeah, and it's not the only thing that changes when exposed to sound.
Right.
So is there a technology that we have access to that we're being forced to forget that is up to us musicians to revive and rediscover and
Absolutely.
and enjoy.
Absolutely.
And that's just,
and that's the power of the mind. That goes back to telepathy tapes.
Yeah,
that goes
which
back to morphic resonance.
I posted a link for that in there.
Yeah, it's just they've slowly taken that muscle away from us.
Yeah.
but I mean, I think for me, that's the big change came for me is when I moved from 12-tet. And for those who might not understand, is 12-tet is 12-tone equal temperament, which is what we use in modern music. It's what your Roland TR-8S is tuned to. It's what your Novations are tuned to. It's designed so people can play together. Simple as that. It's a system based on multiplications of twos. It's very simple maths. However, I grew up as a choral singer. I went to I sang in the cathedral choir in Norwich, and I know that there's a big difference between you know, a middle C and a pure harmonic above that to what's in the 12-tet, and it's quite a lot. That's just why when you play a guitar distorted, you get a beating sound, because those 12 equal divisions, that mathematics isn't the number of the music of the spheres. It's not real harmonics. It's not the harmonics of consciousness. Does that make sense?
It does. It makes total sense.
So for me, one of the things that I've discovered from doing these megaliths is that all these have their own tunings,
yes.
and that I found that actually by tapping into those tunings and working with those tunings, it's had profound effects on the experiences that have happened to me as a result of the music. And I think that what we're talking about the system preventing us from discovering that language, I think a big part of it is our over-reliance on fixed tuning scales. And I'll be honest with you, when I look at the latest Moog or, you know, the latest bit of kit, and all it does is 12 notes, I just see an effort by the culture and the various powers that be to dumb down our own capabilities. Yeah.
Finite limitation.
But I mean, there's reasons for 12 tet, and you know, there's no way that you can get a piano, a trumpet, a guitar, you know, whatever instrument you're playing, to play different notes in different keys without those non-equal numbers that you get from harmonics, from moving around and floating. You need a floating point. So for instance, if you change key halfway through a song, you need to change the harmonics. And if you constantly do that and you go back to the original key, you'll find that it's a completely different key you started at. That's the way actual maths works, not made up mechanical classical maths works. And I don't know, just for me, it's because I don't play with people and because I use electronics. For me, that's been the big breakthrough in terms of discovering a language with which I can connect with my inner self, so to speak. Not there yet.
Yeah.
My only thing is, like you said, trying to get other people to play along. I mean, how many microtonal scales do you know?
I just make them up, to be honest. I don't do the maths.
That's the thing, is you can't make them up by yourself and then expect, like you said, other people to be able to join in. I
mean, that's why I bought the lyra, to so that I can make up scales, and then what I do is I take the frequencies from those scales and then import them into the odd sound plugin, the MTS plugin, and then use that with VCV Rack or whatever.
If you have
the Trinity I've got has a 128 note retuning, but that is epic. Trying to do that, it's rubbish.
Yeah.
If you have a lyra and you're playing with a lyra, it's like playing with somebody else because it has its own soul.
Yeah, it should have been called Cosmos and not
that
lyra.
Thing is just
get a Rolly Seaboard. Every time you play it, it'll have a different set of notes, regardless.
Yeah.
In fact, you're lucky if you can get any particular dead note on this.
That's kind of disappointing there. You'd like to be able to aim for something and get to it, right?
All right, we got about 5 minutes because our dinner's getting cold.
Closing statements, anybody? I would like to come back and continue on this conversation.
We can come back tomorrow.
We can come back tomorrow, or if you guys are willing, and we'll start even earlier. But this is us going back to the roots of Symptoms of Reality, and we're slowly putting music very, very second last, because that wasn't the direction we really wanted for this channel. However, we do love playing it with our family And I know it keeps Kent fucking busy in his workstation. It keeps me busy in mine.
As if I wasn't busy enough.
Busy enough, right? But our number one passion, because my brother have experienced certain things in life, and my brother's had a near-death experience where he exited his body, and he's seen some weird things, and I still get sleep paralysis, and that shoots me off into some weird reality that I'm terrified of, but it happens, and it's a crazy experience in itself. This is our way of talking about it. We don't want to go out and seek help with so-called professionals, because even they have to have a professional. I feel very comfortable with experience or sharing our experience with this community. No one has ever laughed at us. Everyone has found it very intriguing. And it's a way for my brother and I, and I know a lot of you, to walk away from music and just expand the mind and exercise other ideas, and incorporate that into our music. Thank you to everyone who has taken the invite to come in here. You guys are of beautiful minds. In my mind, you guys are all scientists, just of the hard knocks, living in this world, understanding it, trying to understand ourselves. Can't thank you. Inhibit, Royd. It'd be nice if you guys want to continue this tomorrow. We can continue it tomorrow. If not, whenever you guys have the time, just say so, and we shall do this.
Maybe we should organize a deep dive into a particular
subject
thing. See what the community says.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Good idea.
And if you guys have any thoughts as to what you want us to talk about that's in this field, let us know. It would be wise if we can get Uncle Chrome in on one of these discussions. He's an actual mathematician.
Monkey brains?
Monkey brains. He could sum up a lot of things for us, put it into context. He's a very bright mind with numbers, and he himself is his own fucking thing. Also, next weekend we have a software engineer who just wrote a book. It's out now. It's called The Hidden Link, The Atomic and Subatomic Worlds, I do believe. If not, we'll get that link up next week. And he'll be joining the show. It would be nice to have you guys here on board. I think you'll find what he has to say very interesting.
What day is that he's joining?
Next Saturday. And how he views AI systems, how he incorporates that with our consciousness, and where he thinks we're headed with all of this. So thank you all for showing up. Thank you all for taking it as serious as we do. There is room for playing around, and we laugh about it and we fuck around. That's all part of it. No one wants to take this too
popcorn
serious.
night.
Even in the discussions, like, it's okay that we joke about certain things. It's clear to me everybody knows when to be serious and when to fuck around. And I feel like I'm just getting to know two more additions to the community, and that's Inhibit and Royd. You guys are very beautiful mind people, and let's continue the conversation.
Before we go, don't forget, for those of you who joined the event, your jam is due June 6th. End of day June 5th would be amazing, but at least first thing in the morning on June 6th. Popcorn night is always on Fridays. And don't forget to check those notifications for when they're just jamming out, because there are days that they will just jam out.
Yeah.
So the title of the lives will always tell you what's happening.
Yeah.
So don't
and then
forget to
please,
check
if you
those
get a
out.
chance, check out Inhibit has a channel. Roy Joy Void has a channel. You all know Kent Spong.
Who the fuck is Kent Spong, anyways?
Yeah.
But, right? Uncle
You
Chrome.
remember that first day he came on? I was like, well, who the fuck is
is
Kent
Kent
Spong?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Uncle Chrome just released a Blee Boop
Go over to his channel, check it
bleepity
out.
boop type deal. He normally does.
VCV guy.
He's a VCV guy, and I'm telling you, the dude is a literal genius. It
And I'm
just
always-
premiered an hour ago.
Yeah, I'm always convinced he makes them for us. I don't care what he
know.
says.
I know.
You know?
And if you're watching this and you're worried you don't have enough gear or your sound isn't strong enough and you haven't checked out VCV,
Yeah,
do
check
it.
it out.
Do it.
Yep.
Yeah, Chrome's been trying to talk me into it, and
Yeah.
I'm slowly getting
Slowly,
into VSTs.
baby step.
Yeah.
Baby steps.
Yep.
All right, everybody.
Okay, everybody. I think tomorrow we'll be on.
I don't know. We'll post it in the morning.
Yeah, we'll post it in the
Have
morning.
no idea.
But it won't be any later than what it was
Yeah.
today. Yeah.
All right, folks.
All right.
Thanks for having us.
Yep.
Bye.
thanks
Love
for
you.
having us.
Bye.
Bye,
Have a good
nerds.
one.
Take care.